Hi, my name is Gershom Folkart. I have the honor today to sit down with the founder and CEO of Viva Technologies, Mr. Don Vo. Don is a very interested person. Don started off as an entrepreneur very, very young. His first business he started when he was only 13 years old, and then he went on to exit that business when he was 15 with $1.6 million. Right? That's impressive to me because as a kid, I know when I was 15, I wasn't thinking about starting a business, much less sell a business. But more important than that, Don went on to become very successful in multiple business. But what many people don't know about Don is a very experienced trader in the market. And actually, he took an account from $100,000 and took it to over $10.1 million. So as you can see, someone like Don is a very interesting person to kind of pick his brain to see what's going on in the market today. But tell us, Don, what is it like, or how did you actually take an account from $100,000 to over $10 million? How do you do that?
Well, honestly, Gershom, it's a combination of luck and being, at the right place at the right time, living in the right time period, basically. But a lot of it has to do with basically recognizing trends, being able to, go through your daily life and just seeing problems and thinking of, like solutions and seeing the trends that are taking place through, through your everyday life and through what's going on in the news cycles, and really, paying a little bit more detailed attention to those trends and just thinking about how those trends would basically transpire in the business world and what types of effects it would have on the business world. That's how you're able to take a look at certain companies and kind of pick which one is going to do well, which one's not going to do so well, when it's going to do well, and when it's not going to do well, depending on what's going on in the world at that time.
Awesome, awesome. So with that being said, Don, today was a very interesting day in the market, not just in the equity market, but also in the bond market, in cryptocurrency, in precious metal. So a lot of people right now they're wondering what's going on, right? A lot of our clients are antsy, not sure what to do in a time like this. So someone with your background, your experience, help us out. Help us understand what's going on in the market today. What's your perspective on today's market?
So what I see in the markets today is, there's actually a lot of different stories and different takes that's currently going around and cycling through our news cycle right now. But what it really boils down to, because when I take a look at the markets and everything is down across the board, it's not only stocks that are down, and then you have your traditional safe haven assets like gold and other types of commodities. Everything's down across the board right now. And what that shows me is really this coronavirus pandemic. It's getting priced into the market too severely. I feel like it's a little bit, the situation's a little bit overblown because fundamentally, nothing has changed in our economy and in the strength of our economy. Yes, the coronavirus is causing people to, stay home. It's going to have some hindrance on your daily business cycles. Let's say people are not going to be traveling as much, so airlines are going to take a hit, tourism is going to take a hit, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fundamentals of all of these type of businesses. Let's say Amazon, right, is still the Amazon it was before the coronavirus. Or, Boeing is still the same Boeing it was before the coronavirus. Nothing fundamentally changed for them. The only thing that changed is just everyone's fear factor, and it's just pricing too severely into the markets. And what is really causing this downturn across the board? It's a liquidity issue for the current institutions that are in the markets and the current investors that are in the markets. They're with every single bull cycle, basically. The longer the bull cycle, the more people get comfortable with margin trading because they see that like the prices has been just kept on going up, and up in the markets for over the past 10 years already. Since 2009, we've been in a bull market since 2009 until now. And it's the longest bull market in history, which means that people are very comfortable to seeing the prices increasing every single day. So they're more comfortable, trading on margin and taking more risk in that sense. And they didn't, really factor in the risk of getting hit with a margin call, which is exactly what happened today when, a few people starts to, and how that triggers is, it first starts with a few different groups of people who starts to panic over, hearing the coronavirus is now officially declared as a pandemic. So they start to sell, but when they start to sell, it triggers just a little bit of a sell-off, which then causes a triggered a triggered algorithm, a systematic, trigger that starts to hit all the traders that are trading with a margin call, causing them to automatically, cover their positions, and then it just becomes an onslaught of a sell-off. And we can see that it's highly attributed to the margin call, because traditionally, whenever there's a market sell-off in the stock market, you will see safe haven assets like gold taking off. But today, gold itself is sliding, and that's why, this really confirms that across the board, it's just liquidity issues, and institutions and also traders are trying to cover their margin calls. So they, when they get hit with a margin call on the equity side, they're scrambling to all other types of, assets, like your traditional safe haven assets, like gold, and even your new, and I still strongly believe that Bitcoin is a new form of a safe haven asset, despite, the sell-off today. And it's highly attributed to the margin calls, and people are trying to cover their losses from the stock market. And again, I really think that this is going to be a short-term issue, because the coronavirus, it might, take half a year, it might take a year, but eventually it's going to go away, and life is going to go back to normal. And once life goes back to normal, fundamentally nothing has changed for our economy, and nothing has changed for the world economy. So eventually everything's going to go back to the way it was, and then the markets are going to start, investors that exited the market are going to start to come back, and then we're going to have periods of high returns again. And the people the contrarians that aren't scared away right now, they're going to end up making a lot of money from this market.
Interesting. It goes back to the concept where, say, you buy when there's blood in the streets, right?
Yeah, and that's I absolutely agree with that statement. And that's really, when there's blood on the streets, that's really when I have always made the bulk of my money. When the markets, there's no volatility in the markets. I do dabble. I do continuously trade. But the bulk of my money does not go in to any single asset until, there's a really big correction. There's really a lot of volatility in the markets, because historically, time and time again, it is proven that during periods of uncertainty, that's when true wealth, legacy wealth gets created.
Mm-hmm. That's quite an interesting answer, because based on what you just said, when you think about it, most of these margin calls have been triggered by algorithms. So it's not anyone even in the market making these sales. It's just a computer that's triggering a certain limit. And then, so people are basically pulling liquid from wherever they have it, whether it's in precious metal, whether it's in crypto, whatever, they need that liquid to cover their margin calls. So that drives all the prices down.
And I mean, since we're on the topic of margin calls, I just wanted to touch a little bit on that topic of what a margin call is, or even what trading on margin is, because
absolutely,
I know more likely than not, a lot of our viewers aren't really really knowledgeable about these different technical terms in the financial world. So basically, what trading on margin is kind of like the exchange or the platform or the brokerage that you're trading on. It's letting you borrow money to like buy more stocks or utilize more money than you actually have in your accounts. So for example, let's say if you have $100,000 in your accounts, in your brokerage account, your TD Ameritrade or your Charles Schwab account, and they allow you to trade 5x margin, which means that they're allowing you to trade 5 times more than what you have. So now all of a sudden you have access to be able to buy $500,000 worth of stocks or of whatever it is that you want to start trading in. But you really only have $100,000 in there. But how they guarantee that they're going to always make their money and not lose money on giving you that loan is when the stock market drops to a certain, like let's say if you bought Amazon stock, right? All $500,000 worth, even though you only have $100,000 in that account. You bought $500,000 worth of Amazon stock, let's say at $1,000 per share, but all of a sudden Amazon stock, drops by 20% to only $800. You just lost $100,000 of that $500,000, basically everything you had in your account. So so for the brokerage that made you that loan for their security, they're gonna issue you a margin call, either telling you have to replenish into your account again that $100,000, or they're gonna have to like sell off all 500 like all of the Amazon stocks that you just bought so that they can get their money back.
Interesting. Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. I know a lot of our viewers and clients are probably liking this conversation as well. So, Don, a lot of our clients, like I said before, has been very nervous about the market today. So I have some questions that our clients send in that they would like you to touch upon. So I'm going to get to those questions real quick.
Okay.
So we can get into those. So one of them is this. Is it fair to say that this current price drop is a direct relation to the coronavirus pandemic and therefore is a short-term event? I think you kind of touched on that a little bit in your first answer from the first question.
And I mean, I do believe that the current price action in the markets right now, not only in the Bitcoin market, but across all different assets, including safe haven assets like gold, it is, taking a hit from people pricing into the market too severely the effects of the coronavirus. I mean, yes, the coronavirus is serious and everybody should take safety precautions not to, contract that virus and not to get sick, because nobody likes to get sick, right? But at the end of the day, people have to realize there's actually more people that die from the regular flu season every single year than the coronavirus. And does the flu every single year, stop the economy from running, stop businesses from functioning? No, right? So I really feel in a way, like we are really blowing the effects of coronavirus out of proportion right now, because it's really a big unknown for us and for the whole, health community, because it's a brand new virus. So I do encourage people to take safety precautions, but also keep in mind that eventually everything is going to get better and there is no fundamental change to Bitcoin, to the world economy, or to anything else, basically any of the businesses. There's no fundamental change, so there's still going to be exactly the same business after all the coronavirus fears blow over. So I think this is actually a very, very good opportunity to start getting in to the market at such a discounted price.
So I know that a lot of people always use this term, buy the dip. So is this one of those times where you buy the dip? Is that what this is today?
Yes. I would, encourage people to start thinking about getting in to the markets right now. Obviously, there is no way that anyone can time the market 100% correctly, and there's no way for someone to, like accurately predict where the exact bottom is. But history has shown that it doesn't matter how severe, the bear markets are. It doesn't matter how severe, like the dips are or the corrections are. Eventually, it comes back, and it comes back even higher than, like where it was originally. And a new all-time high is going to get set. And that, that is true across all different assets.
Very good. So we are primarily a Bitcoin mining company. So a lot of our clients, they're watching the Bitcoin price dip like everything else. So they want to know, will the Bitcoin price right now have an effect on our mining as we approach the halving event in May?
And that's actually a very good question. So for those people who aren't familiar with how the dynamics of Bitcoin mining, there's actually a few dynamics at play, right? The first is obviously the Bitcoin price, which fluctuates every single second. So every single second, the price can change and move. And then there's the mining difficulty level, which, readjusts itself based on the amount of miners or the hash rate that is committed to the Bitcoin blockchain. That adjusts once every 2 weeks. So it's not, as dynamic and real time as the Bitcoin price, but that adjusts once every 2 weeks. And it generally, follows, it generally lags behind, but it generally follows the direction of the Bitcoin price. So at the end of the day, the most important factor to Bitcoin mining is actually the electricity rate that you're getting to run your Bitcoin mining machines. Because the Bitcoin mining difficulty level, it only changes once every approximately 2 weeks or so. That's why it's very important to have a low electricity rate so that when Bitcoin price actually dips down, you're not the first people to start becoming unprofitable. So for example, currently right now around the world, on average, the electricity rate around the world is about 14 cents per kilowatt hour. And we get our electricity for less than half of that.
Wow.
Which gives us, a very big advantage in the market, because, and why I say that gives us a very big advantage is, for example, let's say one of the current models on the market right now, let's say the Antminer S17s, right? Let's say every single month you are able to mine about $100 worth of Bitcoin every single month, right? And the cost to run your, Bitcoin mining rig, or the Antminer S17, for example, is $50 to make it easy to calculate. If the Bitcoin price, drops by, let's say, 50%, you're still at, the amount of Bitcoins in US dollar wise that your Antminer S17s will be able to produce is still $50, which is still enough to cover the electricity costs of running the machine. So you're still kind of above water. But all of the other people that are, let's say, getting the the higher electricity rates, let's say they pay $90 a month for to run the Antminer S17s. And what that does is, they're profitable before the prices come down, but then when the price, drops by half, and now the machine is only making you $50 a month, and you're paying $90 in electricity fees every single month. Right? That's no bueno. You're not making money. Why would anybody keep their rig on if they're losing money every single month?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, those guys with the higher electricity rates, they're going to turn off their machines first. And when they turn off their machines, when the mining difficulty level readjusts, it's going to come down. And when it comes down, all of these guys that still have, like their machines on that are, like paying the $50 in electricity fees, now even if the Bitcoin price doesn't move and stays stagnant, right? But because the mining difficulty level comes down, that means each one of your machines are mining more Bitcoin too. So instead of just mining $50, now you're able to mine $70, for example, because all of the other guys that were paying $90 a month in electricity to run the machines, they already turned off their machines. And I know that sounds, like a little complicated, so I just wanted to give, like an easier to understand example, right?
Okay.
Like, let's say you have a gold mine, and in that gold mine, it has 100 nuggets of gold in there. If you are the only person that goes into that gold mine to mine for gold, then the probability is eventually you can mine all 100 nuggets of gold, right? But then, like those nuggets of gold might be only worth, like $10 per nugget. So when you collect all 100, you still get $1,000, which you might feel is worth your time. So that, like that's great. But when, when there's, let's say, 100 people coming to mine in that same gold mine, then each person only gets one nugget of gold each. It might, and when the price of gold is, let's say, worth $1,000 per nugget, everyone is still getting, $1,000 worth, and they feel that it's worth their time, so they continue to mine, and you still have all those, 100 people there. But if the price of gold, let's say, drops down to, $400 or $500, you're going to have, some people feel like it's not worth their time anymore. Then, they're going to stop coming to mine at that gold mine, and maybe there's only 20 people left mining in that gold mine, and now each person gets 5 nuggets. And even though each nugget is worth a little bit lower price, but at the end of the day, you still end up making, a little bit more money too, either even or a little bit more money. And eventually historically, that has been shown in, the Bitcoin pricing and the mining difficulty level, how they correlate to each other throughout the whole history, of Bitcoin. Which has been a little bit over a decade now. So I'm very confident that in this next, a Bitcoin price correction, if it's a prolonged correction, and we have already proven this back in 2018 too, when Bitcoin price dropped to only $3,200. So that was an even deeper, drop than where we are today. Where the last time I checked, prices dropped down to about $3,800. Now they're back up to around $5,200 or $5,300 already. So we're in a very volatile market right now. But basically, at the end of the day, because VBit Technologies, we have access to an electricity rate that is less than half of the average electricity rate around the world. So even it doesn't matter how low the Bitcoin price goes. Well, obviously, if it goes to zero, then it's not worth anything.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's one of those things where anything is possible, right? But what's the chance of that really happening? You have to. Every single person in the world would have to lose interest in Bitcoin for it to go to zero. So that's one of those things I don't see happening. So let me answer this right now. A lot of analysts have made, people like to make price predictions, right? And one of the things that I've been hearing for the past few months is that Bitcoin is going to surpass its last high of around 20,000 in December of 2017. So right now, this current market, especially today, do you see that as a possibility that the Bitcoin price this year could surpass its last high of 20,000?
Well, Personally, I always like to stay very conservative. I don't like to, overpromise people something and under-deliver for them. So in reality, I don't really like to make, price predictions either. But if I had to, I always base my price predictions based on historical data and what has actually happened. And I take a very conservative, point of view. But from what it shows so far historically, because this is a year where the Bitcoin mining halving event happens, and historically, yes, there's a little lag, in the price catching up after the halving event. So I don't think that it's going to break its last high of $20,000 this year, but I do strongly believe that it will do so and set a new all-time high towards the end of next year. So that being said, we're gonna have to prepare for ourselves for a little bit of a rocky ride, but it's very, very short term. And I really think this is actually the best time to start Bitcoin mining, because you get it's after the halving event. Eventually, all the guys with the higher electricity rates are going to have to turn off their machines, and then, the guys with the lower electricity rates, the more efficient miners, the mining difficulty level is going to readjust down. And this has happened in the previous two Bitcoin halving events as well. It is a very correlated issue, in my opinion. All the guys with the lower electricity rates that has their machines, online, they're going to end up mining more Bitcoin over this time period too. So you're going to get a chance to accumulate more Bitcoin. And once, Bitcoin price hits that new all-time high next year, you're going to, have a lot more profit than if you had waited until the bull market actually starts to start Bitcoin mining, because at the end of the day, when the bull market starts, there's going to be more people that wants to come into the mining market too. So with each hash power, you're going to end up mining a little bit less Bitcoin. So at the end of the day, you're not going to be as profitable. So actually right now is the best time.
Yeah. You mentioned something a couple of times, and I'm tempted to ask you about it, but I'm not sure if you can answer that question without giving up any kind of proprietary, information. But the fact that you're able to get electricity costs of half the market price right now, that's amazing. And I would imagine that's what makes us, more sustainable than the average mining company. Mm. But one of the questions that some of our clients have been asking, I'm not sure. I, for one, am not sure that we are in a recession. Some people say that we are right now, and maybe we are. I'm not sure. But is Viva Technology, are we positioned right now to where we could withstand a prolonged recession?
That is a very good question, Gershom, and that's a question that I have put a lot of thought into, and I really think that we are well positioned because of the way we structured our packages. Our product is something that we have a very special product, right? At the end of the day, our product is a computer that generates money for people at the end of the day, even though it's generating Bitcoins, but those Bitcoins can be turned into, real money at any time. And they have, access, they have real-time access to the Bitcoins that they mine too. So that gives them, additional cash flow, right? So during a recession, and see, I see this as one of the biggest flaw that people have, right? They think that a stable job is going to, get them to where they want to be in life, help them achieve their dreams, or, actually get them that dream house, that dream car. But in reality, a job can't really do that for you. At least it doesn't do that for the majority of people in the world, because unforeseen things happen, recessions happen, you lose your job, and then what? But at the end of the day, like what we're offering is a like computer that does all the work. So even though like you might get laid off, but the computer is never going to get laid off. Like with the Bitcoin network. Because the Bitcoin network needs these computers to continue to processing the transactions on the network in order for Bitcoin to even exist. So at the end of the day, this is Bitcoin mining is the backbone, is the it's the industry that is the backbone of the whole Bitcoin network and of the whole blockchain. So that I don't think is gonna ever go out of existence. And if Bitcoin stays in for however long Bitcoin stays in existence, Bitcoin mining has to exist, because that is like what powers the network. So at the end of the day, if a recession hits and people lose their job, they can turn to like Bitcoin mining to really make a passive income for themselves and give them a little bit like more cash flow and cushion while they're going to seek out their next venture. Or they can even start to become like a part of our affiliate program for free, because we don't charge anything for our affiliate program. It's just the same like Uber or Amazon or any of the other tech companies out there. There's no charge there to get started with it, or monthly fees to get started with it either. You like with Uber, if you refer like a new passenger, you get paid $10 or $20 in a free ride. I don't know exactly how much the compensation is now. It's the same for us, like there's no initiation fee or any requirements. It's totally free to like be a part of the affiliate program, and then you're going out there to market this awesome product that basically everybody wants. They just don't know about it yet. Because statistically around the world right now, the majority of people around the world have never even heard of Bitcoin yet. So the majority of people out there that's why this is such a wide open market for the taking, because there's so few, it's still in its infancy stage right now. There's so few competitors. The demand is going to be huge when people actually find out, about it. Because at the end of the day, you tell me, who does not want a computer that works for them while they're sleeping and generating more money for them while they're sleeping?
Listen, I tell folks every day, what this company have, is what they call a money printing machine, right? And many people may use that term, or making money while you sleep, but what I find from being a member of VB Technology is that literally you have a machine that is making you money every single day, and you don't have to do anything to maintain it. It just runs for you, and every day you're collecting money. Who wouldn't want that? Absolutely. So Mr. Don Vo, it was a pleasure sitting here with you this evening, picking your brain about the market, getting to know you a little bit better. But do you have any closing thoughts for those who are watching this program this evening, and also how does anyone that wants to know more about VB Technology, where can they go to get more information about the company?
Well, the first thing where they can, they can always go on to our website at vbitech.com or check out our YouTube channel, which is VBit Technologies as well, to learn more information about it. Before we close out, I do have, a few thoughts that I would like to, tell people is in this type of market, right? In order for, and not only in this type of market, but in general, generally in life, if you are doing what everybody else is doing, then you might you're really never gonna get any better than the average of the pack, right? Because if you're doing what everybody else is doing, why do you expect a different result, that you're gonna do a lot better than everybody else? So generally in life, the biggest lesson that I've learned in, obviously I don't have the amount of years under my belt like a lot of people out there, but I was really blessed to be able to start young. So the big lesson that I've learned throughout, like my short life is if you wanted to, do something better, if you wanted to create, wealth or become rich, and I'm not talking about just, rich so that you can enjoy your life, but I'm talking about generational wealth, where you can pass it on to your kids too, and also, allow your kids and your grandkids to enjoy their lives as well without going through as much hardship. So generational wealth. If you wanted to create generational wealth, you have to think like a contrarian. You have to do what other people aren't willing to do. And when you're doing what other people aren't willing to do, that's when you really set yourself apart. And that's where generational wealth is made. So in markets like these, where Bitcoin price, or even stocks, or whatever it is, right? In markets like these, whenever there are big drops in the market, that's when there's the real opportunity to make big money. When the markets are continuing to go up every single day, there's really and life is just going by like every other day, then there's not any real money to be made. Only when there's turmoil, only when there's conflict, or some problem out there that is waiting to be solved. And if you find the solution for that problem, or if you're the contrarian thinker, that's when you have the true opportunity to create generational wealth, which I really feel like right now is that opportunity staring at us right in our faces. A lot of people, look back during the internet days, the dot-com days, and they're thinking, oh, why didn't I, buy into Amazon when it was only, $5, $10 a share? Why didn't I buy into Microsoft or Google when it was only a few bucks a share? But right now, you're getting that second chance again. Maybe it's not buying directly. It's not buying directly into Google or Amazon, but Bitcoin, in all honesty, I truly believe that it's going to be bigger than any one company. It's going to be bigger than Amazon. It's going to be bigger than Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple combined. Because what it does is it really revolutionizes the whole financial industry. It really allows the whole world to start participating in global trade. Because right now, with our current financial system, there are still billions of people out there who doesn't have access. Because they don't have access to a banking branch right down the street, or an ATM somewhere, and there's still a lot of businesses in a lot of places around the world that doesn't have access to the credit card terminal where they can start to accept credit cards or other banking products. But with Bitcoin, it truly connects the whole world together, because all you need is just a device that can connect to the internet. Just like your smartphone, which a lot of people have at least a smartphone that can connect to the internet nowadays. So I really feel like this is the second chance for those people who wants to, make generational wealth, that is kicking themselves now that they missed out on the dot-com days, because right now it's even big. This is the Internet 2.0 right now, and the Internet 2.0 at the end of the day, in my honest opinion, it's going to be a lot bigger than the Internet 1.0.
Wow. Those are some serious words of wisdom, my friend, and I appreciate it, and I'm sure that our members and viewers appreciate it as well. So once again, Mr. Danville, I want to thank you for sitting down with me today. It was a pleasure. I learned so much from you. I always learn from you. Whenever I talk to you, whether it's for 30 seconds or for 30 minutes, I always walk away a smarter person, because you know so much, very knowledgeable. And I feel like with someone like you, giving us advice that we should really listen. So when someone like this is sitting down and telling you, hey, now is the time to get in the markets, now is the time to get in, get your feet wet, don't be afraid, because now is when wealth is made. Listen, all right? That being said, I want to thank you, appreciate Mr. Danvo, and I hope to see you again in the very near future. You take care.
Well, thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for helping me get the message out there to not only to our members, but to the general public as well, because I really think that this is something very beneficial for everyone to learn, and not only learn, right? A lot of people say knowledge is power, but knowledge isn't power if you just collect the knowledge and not do anything about it. It's taking action on the knowledge that you learn. That's where, it becomes actual power. But that being said, thank you, Gershom, again, for giving me this opportunity to get the message out there. And thank you to the viewers as well.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.